Good evening, it's 8 o'clock. The top headlines tonight. Remove your hijab or stay out. Students versus state in schools across Karnataka. From little girls to teachers, no hijab allowed. Much controversy on little girls wearing the hijab and going to school. Others on why women are being made to take off what's their freedom of choice to wear. Karnataka High Court hearings continue tomorrow. Meanwhile, the lawyer for the girls wearing hijab shows a Kendriya Vidyalaya notification which allows headscarves in their schools across the country. Inflation crosses 6%. The rupee weakens to 75 rupees to the US dollar. This as fear of a Russia invasion of Ukraine drives global oil prices near $100. The RBI governor says this has been factored in. Inflation is under control. It's V-Day in Goa and Uttarakhand, not Valentine's but voting day. Small states but high stakes here. Meanwhile, the second phase of Uttar Pradesh voting, it's India's largest state. 113 seats have now voted, 290 to go. So it's at an extremely crucial phase. Now it's focused to Battleground, Punjab, voting on Sunday. The Prime Minister's first rally in the state after the security breach the last time he visited. He targets the Chief Minister and the Congress. Meanwhile, Rahul Gandhi and Arvind Kejriwal also campaign and roadshows in Punjab. Arvind Kejriwal says he supports the Centre on National Security. India's biggest IPO, LIC, the finance minister speaks, says the announcement on Sunday night shows the government has committed itself and showing the commitment is a positive buzz. This as employees of LIC's employees union protest against the IPO. And ISRO's big new radar imaging satellite launch. More on the news. Our lead story tonight. Today in districts across Karnataka, there were visuals of the hijab being taken off by young girl students and even teachers. This after a government order had said that there should be no religious symbols in classrooms, and the Karnataka High Court order, interim order, had also said that no saffron scarves, no hijab. However, the visuals were extremely controversial because it showed little girls in a hijab, it showed teachers, it showed students, those who were asked to take off the hijab. Some girls didn't, many others decided that they would go into the classroom without the hijab, but others said they would go home because they didn't want to remove the hijab. So even those who are anti young girls wearing a hijab are asking, should their education be stopped over what is their religious right? That's the big debate. However, today in the Karnataka High Court, arguments were heard, and the lawyer arguing for the girls wearing hijab made the point that in Kendriya Vidyalayas across the country, there is a notification which allows girls to wear headscarves as long as it matches their uniform. He said, don't stop education for a headscarf.
These students, as young as 10-year-olds, were stopped by a teacher outside the Rotary School in Mandya district of Karnataka. The teacher of the private school was seen asking students to remove their hijab. Arguments ensued between the teacher and parents who refused to consider the request that if students could take their hijabs off inside the classrooms.
At least classroom ಗಂಟಾನವರು ಬುಡಿ ಅಂತ ಆದರೂ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸ್ಕೂಲ್ ಅವರು ಈಚೆ ನಿಂತ್ಕೊಂಡು ಮೇಡಮ್ ಅವರು ರಿಕ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ, ಹೋಗಬಾರ್ದು, ಈಚೆನೇ ತೆಗೆಸಿ, ಇದೊಂದು ರಿಕ್ವೆಸ್ಟು, ನಾವೇನು ಆ ಥರ ಮಾಡಲ್ಲ, ಅಲೋ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ, ಇವತ್ತೊಂದಿನ ಮೀಡಿಯಾ ಬಂದಿದೆ, 144 ಸೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಇದೆ, ರಿಕ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ, ಒಳಗಡೆ ಬುಡಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ.
In Shivamogga district, about 150 kilometers from northeast of Udupi, the epicenter of hijab row in Karnataka, saw 13 students from 8th to 10th grade were sent back home without writing exams after they refused to remove their hijabs. A state minister said the students opted to leave the exams rather than take off their hijabs.
एग्जाम का टाइम उधर ऑफिसर्स ने मना किया, आप लोग यूनिफॉर्म में रहिए और एग्जाम लिखो, लेकिन उन्होंने जिद किया, नहीं निकाली। तभी उनका माँ बाप को भी बुलाया गया। उनका माँ बाप आने का साथ साथ ये 7 बच्चे बाहर आ गए। एक साल और घर गए.
The principal of Shimoga Government School says students were told to remove their hijabs in accordance with an interim High Court order that said educational institutions could reopen but no religious clothing would be allowed. The parents claim that the school had allowed students to wear a hijab earlier. In Udupi district, where the controversy erupted in December, a class 9 student at a government-run school told NDTV that they were wearing the hijabs into school, but removed it in the class, and this they have been practicing since many years.
Has the principal instructed you not to wear hijab and come to school, college? Instructions ಏನಾದರೂ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರಾ? ಇಲ್ಲ. So did they ask you to, do you remove hijab in the class when it is?
Yes.
You remove. Is that a practice by you?
Yeah.
It has been a practice.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a few classmates of yours, did they wear hijab in the class?
Yeah.
Did they wear? ಅವರು ಹಾಕ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರಾ?
ಅವರು ಮೊದಲು ಹಾಕ್ತಿರ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ.
Okay.
4 days ನಾವೆಲ್ಲ ಇಲ್ಲೇ ಇರ್ತಿದ್ವಿ, ನಮ್ಮ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಇಲ್ಲೇ ಇರ್ತಿತ್ತು. ಅವರೆಲ್ಲ ಹಾಕ್ತಿರ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ ಮೊದಲು. ಮತ್ತೆ 3 ದಿನದಿಂದ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು ಅವರು ಹಾಕ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆಲ್ಲ.
ಅದು ಕಾರಣ ಏನಾದರೂ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆಯಾ ನಿಮಗೆ?
ಇಲ್ಲ.
You don't know.
Though tension has simmered across the state, the fate of many students who want to wear the hijab and attend classes hangs in balance. Even as protests simmered across the state and also classes resumed for high school for 9th and 10th, what we did see on ground was many students were not allowed to enter educational institutions wearing a hijab. In fact, today in Karnataka High Court, while hearing some of the major submissions being made by the Defence Counsel of one of the petitioners, Mr. Kamath did of course mention saying that the dress code that's been followed by Kendriya Vidyalaya that's run by the central government. Now, according to their dress code, it does prescribe that where Muslim girls will be allowed to wear headscarves matching either with their bottom wear as far as the skirt or a trouser is concerned. Hearing all these submissions, the High Court adjourned the case to tomorrow 2:30 p.m. In Udupi, with camera person Govind Srija for NDTV.
Well, moving to all the politics of elections, and is this controversy also timed to elections? The Prime Minister, meanwhile, campaigned in Punjab today. Now, this is his first rally in Punjab after the security lapse of last time. That was the major focus of his speech, which targeted mainly the Congress and AAP.
पंजाब के सपने पूरे कर पाएंगे क्या? ढींडसा जी, पुरी साहब ते नाल कैप्टन अमरिंदर जी करपान भेंट करनगे. बोले सो निहाल माता की. आप सब पंजाबियां वालों तहे दिल तो धन्यवाद करदा, जी आया आखदा. सब तो वड्डे नया भारत तब बनेगा जब इस दशक में नवा पंजाब बनेगा. इसलिए पंजाब का नया नारा है नवा पंजाब भाजपा दे नाल. नवा पंजाब नई टीम दे नाल.
Also campaigning today was Arvind Kejriwal, who's now having road shows across the state. His focus, he said, is also supporting the centre on national security.
एक-एक वोट पड़ना चाहिए, एक-एक भगवंत मान को सीएम बनाना है, नहीं बनाना है?
चन्नी साहब तो देखो जी, मैं आपको बताता हूँ, वो सुबह से शाम तक वो केवल मेरे को ही गालियां देते हैं। आजकल वो रात को सो भी नहीं पा रहे। वो रात को सोते हैं, आंख बंद करते हैं, जैसे ही आंख बंद करते हैं उनके सपने में मैं भूत की तरह आता हूँ। प्रधानमंत्री की सुरक्षा, जब प्रधानमंत्री आए, प्रधानमंत्री की सुरक्षा में सिक्योरिटी ब्रीच हुआ। प्रधानमंत्री की सुरक्षा देश की सुरक्षा है, उसके ऊपर राजनीति नहीं होनी चाहिए। उसके ऊपर दोनों तरफ से राजनीति हुई, मैं उधर भी दोनों तरफ से उन्होंने राजनीति की। आम आदमी पार्टी कभी भी देश की सुरक्षा के साथ समझौता नहीं करती। यहां भी जब भी सुरक्षा की, राष्ट्रीय सुरक्षा की बात होगी, हम केंद्र के साथ मिलके एक टीम की तरह देश की और पंजाब की सुरक्षा करेंगे।
7 phases to, well, the one phase states, the small states of Goa and Uttarakhand, which both voted today, but high stakes here as well for the Congress and the BJP, which are facing off in both these states. In Goa, of course, it's now a multi-party contest.
Eco-friendly green booths and all-women pink booths to welcome the Goan voter in this high-stakes battle. The governor was amongst the first to vote.
Our election system is perfect and we are considered as the largest democracy in the world. One thing I studied about Goa, there's no political clashes. The people of Goa are having a higher democratic concepts and political concepts.
The stakes are high. In 2017, the BJP got only 13 seats but managed to form a government with smaller parties and later by breaking the Congress. This time too, the Chief Minister is confident, but don't be so sure, says his Congress rival.
Yeah, it is definitely I'm confident that we are getting the 22 plus seats in the state of Goa. We are winning with a majority. Definitely all the people, they loves me, and whatever the infrastructure development required in the state, in my own constituency, which I had completed, and I'm fully confident I'm winning this election by more than 4,000 margin.
The Home Minister coming and campaigning for Chief Minister, that itself proves that he's losing the ground. I don't have to say much.
The X factor this time is parties like the Aam Aadmi Party. People want a change from Goa's defection culture, says the Aam Aadmi Party's chief ministerial candidate.
Last time people chose Congress here. They defected to BJP. Only one party which has come out in open and given a guarantees, given a vision for Goa is Aam Aadmi Party. So I think people of Goa are coming out with a hope, and that hope is culminating into the number of people who are voting right now. So I think there's going to be a sea change. This is a wave.
The voters here want jobs, better roads, a clean Goa and no corruption.
The garbage is all over the place and the roads are bad. The potholed roads, everywhere there are potholed roads.
Garbage is definitely an issue, dry garbage, and the roads, of course. And apart from that, I think jobs for youth. I think a lot of our youth are jobless.
The youth is very highly educated, so they should always opt for jobs which is according to their qualifications, and there should be transparency in this matter.
So the main issue right now is the need for a new face. What happens is when the same old politicians are participating for years and years together, there's no new ideas coming in. They just have their egos and attitudes playing in the game, and because of which the progress and development of society doesn't take place.
I don't want the country to split, so my vote was accordingly to that intention. And important is also the development of this place. Another important point was corruption.
As the sun sets, Goa has voted. In a small state like Goa, the margins between winners and losers is often too small, making it an extremely hard election to predict. Which way have the winds blown? We'll know on the 10th of March. With camera person Sanjay Mandal, this is Rishika Barua in Goa for NDTV.
And from the beaches in Goa to the hills of Uttarakhand, 70 seats the state voted today. But some controversy as the Chief Minister and his wife both had the BJP symbol as they're voting today. The Chief Minister wearing it, BJP badge, and the Chief Minister's wife also going from booth to booth campaigning. Meanwhile, here's what Mr. Dhami said to NDTV.
चुनाव लगभग खत्म हो चुके हैं, पोलिंग लगभग खत्म हो चुकी है। मुख्यमंत्री खुद यहां पर पोलिंग बूथ पर आकर जायजा ले रहे हैं। सर, कैसा लगा?
सारे रुझान भाजपा की तरफ है और मैं पूरे प्रदेश में भी गया था और आज मैं क्षेत्र में भी घूमा हूं, तो मैं आश्वस्त हूं, कहीं कोई संशय नहीं है।
सर, आगे अगर सरकार बनती है, रिकॉर्ड टूटता है, ट्रेंड बदलता है, तो क्या सबसे ज्यादा आपकी प्रायोरिटी में सबसे नंबर 1 पे क्या रहेगा?
नहीं देखिए, हमने बहुत सारी चीज़ें अपने संकल्प पत्र पर दिया है और हमने पहले बताया है उस पर। हमारा यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड हम लागू करेंगे, हम नौजवानों को रोजगार देंगे, गर्भवती बहनों के लिए 40,000 रुपया देंगे, 3 LPG सिलेंडर मुफ्त देंगे। ये सारे हमारे एजेंडे पर है,
इन सभी
पर हम काम करेंगे।
सर एक आखिरी चीज, कांग्रेस कह रही है कि मॉडल कोड ऑफ कंडक्ट का वायलेशन किया गया। आज आपकी जो गीता धामी जी है वो भी पोलिंग बूथ पर आई थी, तो मॉडल कोड ऑफ कंडक्ट का कहने का वायलेशन हुआ, इसके बारे में
नहीं, उनके पास कोई मुद्दा नहीं है।
तो नहीं मानते।
But moving from domestic politics to what's happening globally and impacting India, the Russia-Ukraine tension, which has the world watching. The German defense minister is currently in Ukraine, but there are some signs of possible Russian de-escalation, as the Russian President Vladimir Putin has apparently been told by his defense minister that the military drills have now ended. One Russian precondition, however, is that Ukraine should not be made part of NATO. Meanwhile, Vishnu Shom has this exclusive with the Russian representative in India.
What explains the massive Russian troop presence on the frontiers of Ukraine?
During numerous recent conversations and visits, the Western officials repeat the mantra about the Russian troops near the border of Ukraine, but they keep silent on the reasons why it happens. How many NATO offensive troops are in the Eastern Europe, including those which are involved in the nuclear missions? How much lethal weapons they pumped into Ukraine? How intense their anti-Russian military exercises, including in the Black Sea? What the Western military advisors are doing in Ukraine? That is accompanied with the huge Western disinformation campaign that Russia is going to invade Ukraine and even announce some particular dates. We don't know about these dates. If they do, that means that they are intentionally preparing for another provocation and invasion from the other side of the eastern part of Ukraine. All that is urging Russia to take defensive measures.
And that impact being felt globally and on India's stock markets, which plunged sharply today. They were down amid a global sell-off. This also as inflation is now crossed 6% and the rupee is now at 75 rupees to the US dollar, as global crude oil prices are near $100 a barrel.
Investors in India lost over 8.5 lakh crores this morning. The Nifty and the Sensex closed over 3% lower, the sharpest single-day decline since April 2021. The reasons are global. The Ukraine crisis, with Russia feared to be close to attacking it, which led to oil prices to a fresh 7-year high at $95 a barrel, and markets starting from Japan that crashed today. Inflation concerns mount after the spike in oil prices that are now headed towards $100 a barrel, according to some experts. India's retail inflation has peaked to a fresh 6-month high at 6.01%, just above the RBI's upper limit. However, the RBI governor says there's no need to be alarmed.
So that should not surprise or create any alarm, because we have taken that into consideration. And the Reserve Bank is fully aware of its commitment to inflation, keeping in mind the objective of growth.
With rising inflation, record high oil prices, a weaker currency and bleak scenarios on the geopolitical front, the ride ahead for India's economy and markets is a challenging one. Sakshi Bajaj for NDTV.
And the Finance Minister today spoke on yesterday's announcement of the LIC IPO, in which the government will sell 5% of its stakes, saying that it has already created a positive buzz so crucial for the stock markets.
There is a positive buzz in the air that the government has committed itself, and it's showing it. And because the way in which, in a way, it has been tailored, policy holders are going to get a share, retail investors are going to get a share, and there's this biggest IPO coming out.